Time for another board game review, and this time we have Quarriors, the game of uber strategic hexahedron monster combat mayhem. This was sent to me by WizKids. Epic burst, 130 custom dice. I will admit the marketing on the box is a little try-hard for my tastes, but the game itself is it's pretty fun. You are a mighty Quarrior, a magical warrior with knowledge of the mysterious powers of quiddity and the art of capturing quarry. Your quarry, also known as dice, are powerful creatures and magical spells that you can use in your quest to amass the most glory. But your rivals plot against you. They will send their own creatures and spells to destroy your quarry before you can deliver them to the Empress Quiana and claim your reward. Summon your creatures and protect them from your foes, and you will earn glory for yourself. The first player to earn enough glory will be hailed as the champion of the Empress. It's got like a goofy sense of humor with all the keywords and stuff. It's cute. So instead of a deck builder, this is a dice building game. What you're doing is you're kind of getting dice to add to your bag and culling dice you don't want. Trying to use these, trying to roll for energies so you can get better dice and fight your opponents and get victory points. It's good fun. Let me show you kind of like the basics. So at the beginning of the game, you pick 7 different classes. That's what these monsters are. Here's the mighty scavenging goblin, for example. You got 7 of these different monsters or warriors you can get. You have 3 sort of spells, and then you have 3 basic cards. The 3 basic cards are always the same, but you always have a different group of spells and warriors each time, so it gives it a little more variety. And if you look here, there are all sorts of dice in this game. It's a very attractive package, seeing all these different colored dice with all the different sort of designs on them. It's pretty cool. Now, the dice have different icons on them. So, for example, this raindrop symbol, that represents quiddity. That's sort of like your energy you can use to buy new cards. There's also like draw and roll, there's re-roll. I'm not gonna get into every single type of dice side there, but basically there are different sides that can do different things or different actions. Now the game comes with these nice little bags. This is your dice bag, and you're gonna be putting all the dice you have inside this bag and drawing them out as if it were like a deck. And the game is played on this sort of play mat. Now, the fact that they don't include these playmats and are basically like, hey, they're on the back of the rule book if you want to cut them, but you can't even like cut them out because they're, for some reason, there's on 2 sides, so you only have 2 mats. Not the greatest. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but not the greatest component, especially for what I think you kind of really need. We made our own kind of shitty mats, but I feel like you could have just thrown in some cardboard mats or something. I'll complain about that a little bit later. But basically, there's a couple sections. There's the active pool, the ready area, the spent pile, and the used pile. The active pool, that's where all the dice you're gonna roll are. And so you can use these dice to like ready stuff or summon creatures. Basically, whatever dice you can use are in the active pool. And then there's the ready area, and the ready area is where you put your monsters that you're kind of ready to attack, or spells you're ready to cast. The spent pile is where all the dice go that you use up. When they're spent, they get put in the spent pile. And then the used pile here, when all of your dice are spent, and any dice you don't use in the active pool, you move all those dice to the used pile. And then eventually, when your bag is empty, you will take all the used dice and put them inside your bag. Now, each card has sort of different information on it. The cost is 3, so this is worth 3 quiddity. So you have to spend 3 quiddity to buy one of the dice for this monster. And this ability is, when a scavenging goblin is destroyed, draw 2 dice and add them to your active pool. That's when you roll a burst symbol, which I'll explain in a second. And then here, you can actually see all the faces that this die has. So as opposed to a deck builder where you would get this card, you are going to purchase a dice that corresponds to this card and add it to your collection. Now the dice have stats on them. This top left number represents the level, so this is level 1. This top right number is the attack, so attack of 2. And this bottom right number is the defense, so defense of 2. And this asterisk here represents burst. So if you roll this dice and it has the burst face up, some of the cards have special burst abilities. So if you have that burst rolled and it matches one burst with this description, ta-da, you get that ability for that monster. So that's kind of the information nitty-gritty, but let me kind of explain how you actually play. So there's 5 phases to the game. You score creatures, draw, roll, and ready dice, attack your rivals, capture 1 quarry die if you want to, and move any dice to the used pile. So the way to win this game is to win the most glory. And we have this glory tracker. And so depending on how many players you have, 4 players, 3 players, or 2 players, 2 players you have to get up to 20, 3 players 15, and so on. Whoever gets to that number is the winner. I'll explain scoring a little bit later. You start the game with 8 basic quiddity dice and 2 assistance dice. Assistants are basically, they've been like a level 1, attack of 1, defense of 2, but they're all you got in the beginning. So they're like little kind of like pawn boys that can help you kind of get your foot in the door and get started. So you take those dice, put them inside your bag, shake that sucker up, and let's draw 6 out. Here are my 6 dice, and let's roll them. So I rolled 7 quiddity this turn, so that's the amount of quiddity I can use to buy stuff. Now let's say theoretically I had rolled an assistant, okay? If I wanted to summon this assistant, I would have to spend quiddity equal to the level. So this little assistant would need 1 quiddity to play in the ready field. So I'm gonna change my roll, and let's say it was that instead. So looking over at this mat, I can spend 1 quiddity to ready this pawn boy. Now the next phase is attacking, and just for the sake of explaining, I'm gonna pretend I had more monsters ready than my little pawn boy. Let's say I had these 2 guys as well. Now you have to attack, you don't have any choice. So you count up the attack values. So this one had 1, this one had 2, and this one had 2, so a total of 5 attack, alright? And you attack all your opponents simultaneously. So it's time for a dice showdown. My attack power is 5, baby. What do you got? This defense is 2 and this defense is 2. So send 1 out. Oh, nope, 2 is not gonna make it. This one is knocked out. So the effect is deducted to 3. Can I block it with this? Nope, defense of 2. So unfortunately for this player, he does not have creatures with high enough defense to stop the attack. So both will be knocked out and sent to the opponent's used pile. Now in this game, it's not about like life points or anything like that. So even though there's technically 1 attack remaining, 1 attack point, because this was 5, this was defense of 4, any leftover attack is just wasted. Because it's not about deducting their health, it's about keeping your monsters alive until your next turn. Which you can score them later. So the first player got their shit wrecked, but let's say the other player has these 2 dice, and voila, this wizard has a defense of 6. Look at that hot defense. So when player 1 attacks player 3 can choose to defend with this wizard, and since the defense is higher than this attack, they are safe. So no dice for player 3 are knocked out, because you can choose one at a time which one to defend with. So this one has a defense of 4, don't pick that one, you chump. Pick the wizard, blocks it. So player 3's monsters are still in the ready position and still safe. Still, all in all, a pretty good round for player 1. They knocked out player 2's monsters, and then they have this 6 quiddity left. So let's take a look over here at what we can buy. Now normally there are dice on every card, but I just didn't feel like putting them all out. And so you gotta choose one of these cards you wanna buy. Now I figure with 6 quiddity, let's look at this bad boy here. This is a cost of 6, right? And this is the Strong Death Dealer. He looks pretty beefy, so I'm gonna go ahead and spend all 6 quiddity to buy this guy. So you would pick up the dice from the card, and now this dice is forever in your sort of dice deck or your dice bag. When these dice are eventually added to your bag again, when you run out of dice in your bag, this will be included and will be potentially drawn to maybe deal some massive damage to your opponents. And that's the turn. So you move all dice that you use to your used sort of area, and then your opponent goes and they continue. Now let me explain finally what scoring means, because in the first turn you wouldn't have any monsters here to score. But now let's say these 3 guys are here, all right? And it's my next turn. Like I went the first time, my opponents went, and now it's back to me. Every dice you have that manages to survive at the beginning of your next turn earns you glory. And on each card, it tells you how much glory they will give you. This guy, this card is worth 2 glory. So the assistants are worth 1 glory. All the cards, again, have this information on them. Altogether, having these 3 monsters still alive will give you 5 glory. What you do is you move your little marker, which is not here, but you would move it over to 5, and then all these monsters would be sent to used. Then you have the option to cull dice, because in this kind of dice building game, getting rid of dice you don't necessarily want can help you, because that lets you draw dice you do want faster. So for each creature you score, in this case I scored 3 of them, I can choose up to 3 dice and remove them, basically add them back to the wilds so that I don't have them in my collection. And let's say I'll just do one. I'll get rid of this assistant. The assistant is gone, and that's it. Now there are also spells you can buy, like for example the growth incantation. If you have this dice and you trigger it, immediate effect, gain 2 quiddity, and you may re-roll any 2 other dice. This one is the victory cantrip. This creature gains +2 glory when scored, so it's like a sort of equipment you add to one creature, so on your next scoring phase, you'll get extra glory for that monster. That and all the abilities of the cards give you like a lot of fun sort of ways you can mess with your opponents and beef up your guys. Like Strong Warrior of the Quay, all other creatures in your ready area get +1 attack and +1 defense as long as this guy, Warrior of the Quay, is in your ready area. So it gives you like a lot of options and ways to help yourself win. It's not a terribly long game. It's always moving pretty briskly. It's like very simple to learn. Roll the dice, see what you get, ready some guys, attack, buy some stuff, move on. Really quick, really brisk. The art is nice. It's got a cartoony, fantastical vibe. I do like how these cards look a lot. The dice themselves are very appealing, and it's impressive that they made custom dice for every single, like there's so many colors and the symbols are different. So that's a really cool component of the game. It is satisfying having that many dice. But other components, like I mentioned before, the fact that they don't include these mats, which you kind of really need these to play. It's so much easier to have this in front of you to keep track of what goes where in what area. It feels like a misstep to not have this included. Like, this kind of like, it's a page of the rulebook you can cut out. That's kind of like, come on guys. Like, I get that it's expensive to make a bunch of dice. I don't need something fancy. Just give me like a cardboard thing, okay? That's all I'm asking here. This glory tracker is also a little flimsy. Like, this looks like something you would like throw away, like one of the ads for another board game material. Like, it's a very, but I mean, that's a minor complaint. It's just that the dice are so nice. And the card art is so good. It'd be kind of nice if the other components matched that quality just a little bit. I'm not asking for something super fancy, but just the rest feels a little slight. But gameplay-wise, it gives you the satisfaction of a deck builder, but with dice, which I've never done. I think this was the first one to ever do that kind of thing, and it's really fun. It's really satisfying getting cool new monsters and new dice and stuff, adding them to your collection, getting rid of dice you don't want anymore, and when you pull out those new dice in the bag, it feels so good. You're like, oh yeah, I bought this guy, and now he's ready to wreck some shit. It gives you that great deck building feeling. On the other hand, it is a dice game, so it's a lot more luck based, even more so than a deck builder. Like with a deck builder, yeah, the cards you draw are random, but with dice, it's like, if you get a bad roll your turn, oof, that's rough. Like, you might just get no creatures. Even though you bought really nice creatures, you might just you might roll all quiddity. There is a sort of evolution of this game, which I am going to review, that kind of fixes that. It gives you a little more control. And there's actually a lot of differences between Quarriors and the sort of next spiritual sequel to this. That is kind of not an issue, but something to keep in mind. Like, this is really like a party game. Like, it's just really fun. If you want something really strategic and precise, you're not going to play Quarriors. Quarriors is about getting dice, rolling that stuff. Ooh, I got good stuff. Buying stuff. Yeah, let's go. And yeah, there's luck, but the luck makes it fun. So if you don't want to really like a lot of luck in your deck builder, try something else. But the game is so short, it does not take that long to play, that it doesn't feel like a problem to me. It's just something to keep in mind if you're thinking about playing this or not. This game was designed by Mike Elliott and Eric Lang, which, good job, guys. All in all, I enjoyed the game quite a bit. It's short, it's fun, kind of chaotic, luck-based, sure, but it gives me the feeling of a fun deck builder, and that in itself is a victory to me. Like, it presents the deck building element in a new, fun, slightly random, but still fun new dice way. Overall, I would recommend Quarriors. It's good fun. It's epic fun!